Accounting is dying. What are you going to do about it? Hi, I'm Sam and welcome to the Accounting Mentor. Now, if you've been in or around the accounting space for a while, chances are you've seen articles like this one in the news where people post about just how many accountants are leaving the profession versus how many are coming into it. Now, I've been in the accounting trade for almost 2 decades, and I'm going to tell you that when I got my CPA and tax agent's license, I was one of the youngest in the country. I think it was only 10% were under the age of 30 by the time they got their tax agent's license. I was about 27. And so you had less than 10% that were under 30, more than 30% that were over 60. So this was true even way back then, and it's still true today. The only difference is there's a couple of factors impacting this, and we're going to talk about what those are, what I think we can do about them, and how I plan to use this channel to try and help fix that. So a little bit of background about me before we dive into the good stuff. So my name's Samuel Stokes. I'm an accountant, a CPA and a tax agent in my local jurisdiction, which is, of course, as you can tell from the accent, Australia. So I've been in practice for 2 decades. My area of accounting, because it is a pretty broad profession, I'm a tax accountant by trade, and I work in suburban tax practice. So I don't work for a big 4 firm. I'm not an internal management accountant in a company somewhere. I work with hundreds of mum and dad companies running small businesses around the country. And so my expertise has come from working in the profession, hiring and firing other accountants, training them often from the ground up. I have a pretty good feel on what I think the problem is. So one of the reasons for the problem in the accounting space isn't that the industry itself is dying. If you look at the statistics, you'll see that accounting is actually growing in terms of industry size. I think last year was close to 11%. So the industry as a whole, the total revenue it generates is getting larger and larger. So the profession isn't dying, but there's fewer people entering it. And one of the reasons I think that is pretty self-explanatory. Why do people work? They work to earn an income. And if you talk to young accountants, it's just not as desirable as other income generating opportunities that are out there. So an accountant, in order to practice or in order to progress your profession, you normally have a 3-year degree, after which you start working, and then you do a 3-year professional qualification like the CPA or CA, like the Chartered Accountants Program, and you often do that second qualification while you're working. And as you can see on this graph that I'll pop up on the screen, the salary expectations for an accountant that's finished their 3-year degree and gone into work for one of the big 4 firms is only about $60,000 a year, which at the end of a 3-year degree isn't particularly high. And as you can see, there is very low growth over the early years in practice. In fact, you can go on to do 3 years of CPA and still be only on around $70,000 a year. And 6 years of study / work for 70 grand income isn't particularly desirable in today's economy. You can look around and see dozens of opportunities that are easily more income than that. I mean, tradesmen earn more than that quite readily once they finish their apprenticeships. Government employees average between $80,000 and $100,000 a year, and they haven't had to do 6 years of study to get there. There's a lot of other easily accessible opportunities that outperform accounting, which is one of the reasons I think that there are far more people leaving the profession and retiring, etc., than there are joining the profession as new accountants. But it's not just an employer problem. I think the second aspect of this has to do with how we train accountants. You see, I've done a degree, so I can speak to this a little bit. Very little of the actual training and education in accounting takes place, like the practical component, takes place in the workplace, whereas the theory takes place at university. So you can do a 3-year accounting degree. You can even add a master's degree in accounting on top of that, even more years study, and still not be able to do the basic jobs you would be expected to do when you're employed as an accountant. And this used to be a real mystery to me. Before I'd done my studies, I started out really young. We're a family of accountants. And so I graduated high school, I turned 17, and I went straight to work in our family practice, learning how to do tax returns and all the basics of the accounting profession. And I would see accountants come in for job interviews routinely who are far more qualified in terms of the paper that had been given to them for finishing their degrees, but they still didn't know how to do, tax returns that I could take care of because I had 12 months on the job training, right? And this continued to happen to me. Over the years, I'd have people who had a master's in accounting, but still couldn't prepare financial statements from start to finish. And so when I obviously went and did my own degree, I learned why that was happening. And it was because university is so narrowly focused on the theory and has very little practical application and practical training involved. As a result, universities are spitting out graduates that can't actually do the roles they're expected to do when they're hired. And that's why these accounting firms and others don't want to pay top dollar, because they know they're having to invest considerable time and effort into mentoring and training these new graduates. And so we have a problem that's stopping people getting into the profession, which is the lack of money, but we're compounding that problem with a lack of actual practical training. So that is why I feel the accounting profession is really suffering and dying. But what can we do about it? I think the natural solution to this problem is for us to have resources available where people can gain practical experience while they're studying theoretically at university. And so that's the reason I've made this YouTube channel. I intend to take my knowledge and expertise that I've gained from working with these small businesses, from preparing financial statements, from doing all the things that an accountant can do, and show you how you can do them, gain experience more quickly, and increase your worth. Because in Australia, as an accountant, to get to 100 grand a year, you have to be a client manager. And I'm here to tell you that if you can do that, if you can manage clients, you can work your way into practice for yourself, even as a solo practitioner, and be earning twice that, which is a level of income that as an accountant, you're just not going to get unless you're an equity partner in a firm. So I believe there is a future in accounting in Australia because the industry is growing, but I think that future is by gaining experience and going into practice for yourself. And I intend to teach and empower people that watch this channel into doing exactly that. So if you're interested in tax and accounting, bookkeeping, those sorts of related fields, and you're interested in making a career out of it, or just curious as to how it works and what skills you might need, this is the place you want to be. So hop on down, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave any comments if you've got questions or have content in particular that you might be studying or learning about and want some additional content on. Just let us know in the comments down below and we'll be happy to produce them in a future video. I'm Sam, the Accounting Mentor, and I'll see you in the next video.